So we found the need to do a little rebranding after that. So eventually we turned into the Patriot Action Network. And what we found is that in the beginning, we all had such a strong desire to get out there and rally and put up our signs and march and do all those things. Am I right?
Right.
We needed for people to know that we were serious, that we weren't going to sit on our couches anymore and take it. And I don't know about you guys, but my husband and I have discussed this numerous times, putting a plexiglass screen in front of our big screen TV so we can throw stuff at it. Yeah. That's how we feel. And we keep talking about it. We haven't done it yet. It's just, we catch each other's arm before they throw. But in 2009, in January, I actually was just a member of Patriot Action Network, and I had this brainstorm that it was time we had a march on DC. Now, I have been an event planner, and I had just closed my business down in October, the end of October, in 2008 because of the mortgage crisis and the housing crash and all of that. And so, I was very frustrated. I felt like you're bailing out banks and you're bailing out corporations who don't pay taxes and car companies, and then there's all of these people on Main Street America like myself who are paying taxes and doing the right thing. And where was our help? Where was our help? There was no help for us. There's no help for Main Street America because, honestly, those people don't care about us. They're the ones who created this crash. So here I am, and I go in and I start this march. I start planning this march on DC, and over a weekend we had like 2,500 people that were signing up in there and wanting to become a part of it. This is right before the Tea Party movement just went crazy. We were all starting to find each other because we were all disenchanted with what was going on. And there were still many more people to join our movement, and that has continued to happen over the past 5 years. But I was fortunate to be part of that entire process. That march on DC, looking out there, standing with the Capitol behind me, or even at the beginning when we had the Star Spangled Banner, and we're singing and we're looking at the flag on top of the Capitol, and I'm hearing the voices going all the way through the mall, and myself and Louis Gohmert and some of the other representatives stood up there, and we had tears just running down our faces. It was the most spiritual thing for me that day. How many of you went to that march? All right, I know I recognize some of you. Because, we only had like 30 people there or something like that. So, over the past 5 years, we've seen a lot of groups come and go, and we've seen some that have gotten bigger and some that have come up and sort of pulled people from different groups, and everybody's trying to find their place in this movement. Everybody wants a place in this movement, but they're not really sure, like some of like Chris's statement and some of the others, their speeches, they talked about how, it's an organic movement. How do you organize an organic movement? And do you really want to organize an organic movement? Because if you completely organize it, then we're just like what they say about the Koch brothers, and we're letting these people tell us what to do. And we don't want that either, do we? How many of you have had any donations from the Koch brothers, by the way? I'm just curious. Because I know we haven't.
We're back here.
So, we've evolved in the past 5 years, running a site with over 90-some thousand people. And of course, Grassfire has about 1.8 million, what we call active email addresses. That's how you find out how people are doing your site. You could have 10 million, but if they're not active, then you really don't have those members. That's how it works on the internet. So 1.8 million active addresses. Of those 1.8 million people, how many do you think are really engaged in the process? 3? That's a great number. Well, there's more than 3 here, so you can't go with that. Maybe that's in Texas. Yeah. No, actually, Texas did a great thing recently. Were you guys happy with that? Yeah. I told them on Facebook, how about a little Texas tea, anyone? Yeah. I like it. So we've been told that the Tea Party is dead. You guys look like you're alive and well to me. I mean, So I don't think we're dead, but here's what I do think. Every time you hear them talk and they denigrate the Tea Party, they demonize us, they talk about how we're dead, they talk about how we've lost and all that, that actually means you're doing a great job. It actually means they're not going to give you anything. They're not going to give you anything. So you have to read everything they say the opposite. Okay? So whoever's good is really not good. They're bad. Whoever is bad are really good and they're doing a great job. Now, can we do better? Yes. All right, here's the thing that I have found. All politics are local. If any of you have ever heard me speak before, you've heard me say this in all the rallies. All politics are local. Do I want to change the narrative of politics and things that are going on in our country on the national level? Absolutely. Do you? Yeah. Yes. Can I change from my household in Casa Grande, Arizona, what's going on in D.C.? No, I can't. No matter how much I want to. The way we change it, and I know some people have spoken on it prior to me, and I didn't bring a fancy schmancy PowerPoint or any of that kind of stuff, so you just get to look at my name and a scale. I like that, yeah. Oh, where'd it go? Okay, well, Black Horse 2, Black Horse 2. So, okay, and if we go by the scale, what we've seen so far is it's not in our favor, is it? It's not balanced. It's not in our favor. It hasn't been for a very long time. And just like Chris said, one of the most important things is that we do talk about social issues. I've been one of those groups because we decided in the very beginning not to call ourselves Tea Party. We just wanted to be a group that people would feel they could come to us regardless of where they stood. But we've always been Tea Party. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so I've heard people say things like you would never even imagine, even from our own side. I've seen the fighting. I have seen the national groups fight. It sickens me. And when they start fighting, you know what I do? I walk away from them. I'm not gonna play those games, even on our own side. I'm not gonna do it. Good. And it's just not that important to me. And I'm not one that has spent a lot of time the past 5 years tooting my own horn about what I am and what I can do or who, whatever. A lot of people don't even know that I was one of the 3 national coordinators of the Historic March on DC because I didn't go around talking about it. Because isn't there more important stuff to do? Yeah. So here we are, 5 years later. For the most part, we've put our signs down. What's occurred? I've seen numerous people across this country get involved in the political process. Several have run for office. Some have become campaign managers, like my sister. Deborah Shaw Rhodes over there. She's my lovely campaign manager. And even though she's my older sister, I like that she's my campaign manager because I can tell her what to do for a change. It's kind of nice. I am a precinct committeeman. I hear there's about 50% of you here that are precinct committeemen. Is that correct? Yeah. Or women's? Or more? The precinct level is where it's at, folks. I'm telling you, from working at a national level, we can organize, we can have Tea Party rallies, we can have marches, but until we put our signs down and we get involved at the precinct level, we are doing nothing. We are doing nothing. Now, I've worked a lot with Dan over here. He goes by Cold Warrior on the internet, if any of you have ever seen that, or might already know Dan. But Dan is a big advocate for the precinct strategy. And actually, he came to me, it was probably sometime early in 2009, and I began promoting that on my site. And I have watched groups across this country who have followed the tenets of the precinct committeeman strategy take back their entire GOP. The old guard just completely walked out in Las Vegas, in Clark County, walked out, gave it to the Tea Party. Completely walked out. That happens because we know there's a divide between establishment and conservatives, right? Right. And really what I call establishment, they're just more Democrats. Mm-hmm. They really are. Mm-hmm. So here we are, 5 years later. If you're not a precinct committeeman, you need to become one. How many of you have, as precinct committeemen, have walked your neighborhoods? I'm doing a lot of that right now as a campaigner as well, for myself. Is it hard? No. At times. But aren't the conversations pretty good for the most part? Because you're not going to Democrats' houses, are you? I mean, usually you're going, and some people don't understand this, is why I want to bring this up. They think that you're going to everyone's house. No. That would be stupid. We go to the houses of the people who, for the most part, think like we do. Because we want them to vote. We want them to get out in the primary. We want them to get out when it comes time for the general election. We want them to know about who the conservative constitutional candidates are. Am I right? Right. That's how you do it. Making phone calls. How many of you phoned for any candidates? All right, and get out the vote efforts. That's all part of what a precinct committeeman does. Now, it's not hard. It's not rocket science. Does it take a little bit of time? Yes. During certain times of the year, a lot more than others. But it's essential. I can tell you that I worked events as a candidate. I worked events all the beginning part of this year. And at the end of all those events, I still needed like 170 signatures and fives and that kind of stuff. And I was like, this is never going to happen. Then I started walking doors, and bam, it happened really fast. So much better. So if you think that it's difficult, it's really not. Yes, is it hard in the summertime walking and all that? Yes, it is. It's harder in the summertime. But folks, this is how we win our country back. This is how we win our state back, our communities. It's precinct by precinct. That's how you do it. So maybe it's too late for you to become a precinct committeeman for this year, but you can go in and help the precinct committeeman this year. Do we need help? Yes. If I want to change the narrative in DC, I've got to change the narrative in my community. And the way I do that is by finding more precinct committeemen to sign up, because now we have voting power. Now we get to vote for the people that we want to go and represent us in our state for the state party, right? They make the decisions. Those decisions affect all of us. So there's really a lot of power in being a precinct committeeman. So if you want to make change, and you want the narrative to change, say, John McCain. I know you guys probably like him, don't you? No. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Jeff Flake. I know it's probably bad, but I call him McLame and Flake. So.
McFlake.
But
McFlake.
yeah.
McFlake.
So here we are. You know, I know that people have given you a lot more information, but I just want to be someone to inspire you today that we can do this. First and foremost, we got to keep God first in our country. We got to keep God first in our country. Now, or at least, for some of you who may not feel that way, religious freedom. And I want you to have just as much right not to believe as I have the right to believe, and exercise that. That's what America's about. You know, we're in the wild, wild west. You guys didn't realize that? We're in the wild, wild west. Now, maybe you weren't all born here, but this is where we are. And if you look at the west, and I had notes, and I was going to read all these different things to you, but you know what? I'm one of those speakers, I just get up and talk. It just works better for me. But I did have one thing I wanted to, and of course I didn't bring my glasses up here, so I need someone to come here and read this for me. Can you come up here, Chris? Don't roll your eyes at me, buddy. Okay, wait, let me tell you where to start. I'm trying to see it without my eyes. No, okay, wait, okay. Well, just read this first part up to here. Just read that whole first section. This is about what the Western frontier is about.
When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them to another, and to assume among the powers of the earth a separate Oh wait, I'm quoting the Declaration, I'm not reading this. The American frontier comprises the geography, history, folklore, and cultural expression of life in the forward wave of American westward expansion that began with English colonial settlements in the early 17th century and ended with the admission of the last mainland territories as states in the early 20th century. Is that it?
Where did you send that?
Sorry, enormous.
I want you to read this as defined by.
As defined by Hein and Faragher, frontier history tells the story of the creation and defense of communities, the use of the land, the development of markets, and the formation of states. They explain it as a tale of conquest, but also one of survival, persistence, and the merging of peoples and cultures that gave birth and continuing life to America.
Sounds like those Wild West folks were pretty tough people, weren't they? You know, this may not be something that is just a West issue, although we're in the West and we have our own issues. But it just reminds me that, number one, we don't have to come out here and in our carriages and our wagons and broken wheels and deal with all that stuff that those people had to deal with in order to stake their claim and become, you know, live the American dream for what it meant to them at that time. We're in a different place, but we still have a sense of that wildness that's going on, and we as Wild West Americans, we have to stake our claim. We have to defend our land. We have to stand against those people who wish to take it from us and to steal it from us, and those horse thieves and all of those people. So it's really a lot like an old Western movie, except that it's really happening to us in a little different way. And I just wanted you to kind of think about it like that, because I know that people that live in Arizona are tough people. You have to be tough to live in Arizona. You can't be a wimp and live in Arizona. You just can't. And if you are here and you're a wimp, you know, come on. Well, come and see me afterwards and we'll toughen you up a little bit. But we need tough Americans to do more than yell at their TVs, although that is a lot of fun, to get engaged, to do what you can. And look, I understand, some of you have probably done some of this already, and some of you aren't able physically to get out and walk your communities, and I get that. Do what you can where you are. You are who you've been waiting for. There's no one else. You are who you've been waiting for. Now, use that determination and that grit, and let's take this country back to the principles it was founded on. Are you ready to do that? All right, thank you so much. I forgot to tell you, I have some little gifts for everybody here. I've got keychains that are from, they're saying, can you pull one of those down there at the bottom? That just goes right there. Yeah. They're little card keychains. One side, there's two of them to a card, and they say, like, don't tread on me. The other side, I am the Tea Party. Are you guys the Tea Party?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to give these out free. These are from Grassfire and Patriot Action Network. So afterwards, come and see me, and we also have some stickers that we're giving out free to you today, too, for being here. Okay, thank you.
Those are really cool. Is Russell Pierce here? I haven't seen him. There he is. Okay, our next speaker is Russell Pierce. I had the pleasure of listening to Russell speak at a number of rallies at the state capitol. He's always very good. He's a fifth-generation Arizonan and a dedicated family man with a distinguished resume indicative of a true public servant and a statesman in the best sense of the word. Senator Pierce is a decorated law enforcement officer who served for over 23 years with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. He served 11 years with the Arizona legislature. He authored several prominent bills which had a tremendous impact on crime reduction in the state of Arizona. And this next line makes me think of growing up watching Barbara Mandrell, because Senator Pierce was Tea Party before Tea Party was cool. Yeah. For a play on words here. He continues to work tirelessly to restore the American Republic and fight against the encroachment of tyranny. Welcome, Russell Pierce.
Yeah.
You guys are a tough crowd. You stick it out to the end. If I wasn't on the agenda, I'm not sure I would have been here. Darla, thanks for what you said. I just want to do a couple follow-ups. Some great comments today. Some great comments. Folks, like you, and I know many of you here, I'm an unapologetic American. I'm tired of people apologizing for the standards
Right.
the founders put into place that men and women have died for.
Yeah.
Amen.
We didn't get here without the shedding of blood. And I'm grateful for that legacy. I'm grateful for those that are willing to give all for what we have. And I know you're here because it's not about me. I'm getting to the age now that my children are still surprised I'm around. But it is for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren that we stand this battle. It is imperative that we not resign from this battle.
Right.
You know, and Darla talked about being a PC, and I don't want to hammer that too long. But folks, we have about half of the precinct committee positions of the Republican Party in Arizona not filled. Not filled. You know how hard it is to get on there? If you have an opening in your precinct, which is a neighborhood, just a little neighborhood part of your district, 10 votes. Because you're too late to go out and do the petition. Now that was the 27th to turn it in. But if you have openings, check. All you have to do is have 10 votes and you're a precinct committee. Well, in my family, that's fairly easy. I'm one of 13 children. My wife's one of 7. We have 100 nephews and nieces. And I do check their registration number. So anyway, but we have such a wonderful opportunity in this republic. This republic, if we can keep it. And that's the challenge, and that's what I love about the Tea Party. We want our government, we want our country back. And we want the limited government that our founders thought and sought and worked for and sacrificed for, their life, their liberty, and their sacred honor. Folks, we are to be grateful, I hope. One of the things I want to mention too is I saw a couple of hats out there, the folks that have served. I'm a veteran, and I want to thank and get special recognition. We just had Memorial Day. I hope we took the time to appreciate those who have given all, and their families who suffered forever because they lost a loved one, who sacrificed for you, for me, our children and grandchildren. I don't want that moment to go by without thanking our veterans and those who have served and continue to serve. We all have checks and balances. In fact, I always make notes, rarely follow them, but I always make a few notes. One of the reasons I don't follow them as close as I should, because I'm getting to the age now where I need glasses. I can do it without sex, but not my glasses. so I'm always careful that I write big, so maybe I can get by with that. Anyway, I listen to talk radio probably like a lot of you, and I listen to these guys talking and what's going on, and I think, how did we get in this mess? And then I hear, because folks, we're conservative. I've heard this from several folks, and Kay Carl, spoke up to, that the majority of us are conservative. I think we know our values. We're born, I think, with it, and I'll use this phrase, I think we're born with the Spirit of Christ in us. We know right from wrong. We have a moral compass. We don't have to be taught right from wrong. We know it by nature. We vary from it. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, but we know right from wrong. And yet we elect people, they all run like, and I appreciate his comments about Frederick Douglass, but I'm telling you, we all run, because not ever is there yet, we all run like Ronald Reagan Republicans, conservatives, and then they vote like Jimmy Carter liberals. And we don't hold them accountable. We send them back. I mean, time and time again. You got Speaker Boehner up there, undermining the Tea Parties. It's what gave him speakership. You wouldn't have had the conservatives take over, or at least a number of them get elected in 2010 that gave the majority to the Republicans without that.
That's right.
And it's time to do that again. It's time to take back our country. It's time to tell them enough is enough. And I'm looking out here and I see my good friend, Reverend Lance Hurley, and I'm thinking, and I'm looking through the crowd, some of the stories he told, and Patrick Henry is one of my favorites. I love the fireball that is referred to often, the fireball. And today you'd call that extremism, and I'm proud to be numbered. In the beginning there were two parties, conservatives and radicals. The conservatives wanted to negotiate with King George III. The radicals said, no way, if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have the republic you have today.
Right.
It was a fight that didn't appear to be winning. I mean, just imagine the little ragtag army, made up of congregations in most cases, led by ministers, unprepared, unequipped, untrained, to take on, which was already on our shores, the most powerful army and navy in the world. That's not a bet you'd make in Vegas.
No.
It's not a bet I'll make in Vegas either. My wife would beat me. But I can tell you, we took on unsurmountable. And like you said, they had somebody on their side.
Right.
Folks,
That's right.
you can't read about our founders. You can't read about the miracles that took place and not believe with all your heart that God had his hand in the making of
That's
America.
right. Absolutely.
Now we have an obligation to save it. It used to be the Republican Party had our back, and I think as the core values we do it, if you guys don't get involved in PC, we stand the chance of losing that. There's always been an effort to take over this party by moderates. That's a nice word for people that don't have strong values. You know, and enough is enough. And enough is enough. It is up to us. It is our responsibility. Kind of reminds me, and thanks that we all, you know, in my case specifically, I can tell you I'm very fortunate. I'm married above myself, you know, and I kind of remember the story of the guy that stopped at 2 o'clock in the morning by the officer, an elderly guy, and he says, "Where in the world are you going?" This, that. He said, "I'm on my way to a lecture about alcohol abuse, and staying out late, and the harmful effects of cigarettes on your body." And he said, "Wow, at 2 o'clock in the morning, where are you going to have this kind of a lecture?" He says, "Home, it's my wife." Kind of reminds me, we all need this little lecture once in a while, don't we? We know what we should be doing. But we do, we need that little prodding. So, well, that's what this is about today, a little prod. Folks, we have challenges. I mean, you've got the IRS, you know, going after conservatives, the NSA, you know, anytime you have a conversation, trust me, your government is listening, you know, and then you've got Benghazi that they want to bury. What difference does it make now?
Yeah.
4 Americans died that could have been prevented
That's right.
on U.S. sovereign territory. That's
Yep.
what an embassy is. We have Fast and Furious, Terry Bryant, murdered, and hundreds of others potentially were murdered at the hands of our government furnishing weapons. You have a president who has no respect for the rule of law, no respect. Unconstitutional executive order, one after the other, and then Schumer makes the threat the other day, we'll give Congress 6 weeks to pass amnesty, or the president will do it by himself.
Yeah.
Where does he get that authority? His executive order does not change statute. His executive order undermines the rule of law. This is quickly becoming a godless and a lawless nation.
Yes.
We have a responsibility to retrieve it, folks, and it's not too late. But you can't continue to watch what's going on and ignore it. You can't sit on the sidelines and be a spectator to the destruction of this republic. We have an obligation, and I know you're not. You wouldn't be here, and you wouldn't have sat here all day long. It's a matter of engaging others. As Kay Carl and others have said, folks, we've got some work to do. We've got to get out there and grab these folks. You know, I look at what's going on around the country, and just sometimes it breaks my heart, but I have some optimism. I have some hope because of people like you that inspire me. I know many of you, and I've talked to you, and I know the passion you have. A couple of you, I don't think have a real house. I think you get shelter by going to events. I see you and thanks to Chick-fil-A. He's improved. So, no, it's not all bad. But folks, you look what's going on today. I mean, we have, in Arizona, and I'm going to take a look at it, Arizona's really done a good job in many areas. Enough? Absolutely not. But we are the number 1 state in the nation for Second Amendment freedoms. We've got some of the best states. The restoration of your constitutional God-given right. You don't need government permission to carry a gun anywhere you want to carry it, other than private property, and that's only fair. It does. Your constitutional rights also is about private property, so your right to carry doesn't preempt, you know, Lance's private property if he chooses to say not here. Number 1 in the nation. We were number 1 in the nation of school choice. Have we gone far enough? No. But we've gone farther than anybody else in restoring the right of a parent to decide where to send their child to school. It should be parental rights. It's inherent. We've attacked Planned Parenthood in Arizona.
Not enough.
The killing of the most innocent among us,
Yeah.
the unborn. And I tell people every day, the day this party that I'm a member of, and I'm a member of the Republican Party for a lot of reasons. One is I believe it's the greatest hope we have to maintain this republic. Now we have our problems, we have our wars, we need to fix them. But it is the party that I believe has the best choice. And the day this party steps away from those moral core values, I will no longer be a part of this party.
That's right.
You know, and so we have our problems, we have those that violate it, we need to hold them accountable, remove them from office. You know, term limits happens every election if we take advantage of it.
Thank
And
you.
that's the way it ought to be. So anyway, as I talk about these things, I'm grateful that I'm the author of many of these bills and been blessed with good friends to help me get those through, you know, and the governor that, not anxiously, but signed most of them, you know, and I'm grateful for that. But here's the challenge we have too. We tend to live in this judocracy. We were warned about the power of the courts
Right.
and how it would destroy or be the greatest threat to this republic. It is happening every day. Read some of the decisions they make. Just had a judge give a probation to a father because he made his child, didn't give the age, walk to school a mile away. That's right, she gave him a year's probation, a $200 fine, and said that's not appropriate today, that's old school. Well, maybe there ought to be a little bit of old school involved in this. A little accountability for your actions and what you do. Well, I'm grateful for folks like you, and I know you've been here a long time, so there's so many things that I like to talk about, and I'm grateful for others who have covered many of these areas. I'm just grateful. I understand. I studied the founding fathers. I know some of those men as if I knew them personally today. The real George Washington, the real Thomas Jefferson, the real Benjamin Franklin, the real Thomas Paine. How many of you have heard of Thomas Prince? He was the pastor of the Old South Church in Boston, one of the greatest miracles that ever occurred in allowing this republic to become a republic. Because had that miracle not occurred, we would have never had the opportunity for if you will, the Revolutionary War. If you don't know that story, look it up. It's easy to tell many of these stories, and I appreciate what Lance does when he tells these stories so well and in such a passionate and I think respectful manner of what took place. But I love that, and it's just like if you don't know the story that happened around, you know, the Star Spangled Banner and Francis Scott Key and what happened there and why that flag wasn't taken down. What really occurred to keep that flag up. Patriots holding it or cannon fire hit it. And as they died, others, they took them down and replaced them with other patriots because that flag was to stand, because had it come down, that would have been surrender. Folks, we have a legacy that is worth hanging on to.
Yes.
We have stories that ought to be told to our children, that ought to be told every day that we get a chance to tell them. Folks, I am so grateful for patriots. I'm grateful for folks like you. Now we've got to recognize this battle. We have folks who need to be replaced. You've got a 2014 election. I'm not naming names to protect the guilty. But you've got some work to do. You have folks that have undermined your values and your principles. They have voted for Obamacare. They have voted for Common Core. They have voted to fund abortion providers. They have voted to raise taxes.
Medicaid.
They voted and worked against a bill in the Arizona State Senate simply to protect your First Amendment rights, religious freedom, the right of association. Had nothing to do with discrimination. They worked against that. Folks, these are folks who are strictly against the founding principles that the veterans and others have sacrificed everything for. Know that. Go to those records. Know who the good guys and the bad guys are. Let's get out and work. Find your candidate in your area and make sure you know who they are, where they stand, what they've done. And if they're a bad guy, remove them. If they're a good guy, go out and work for them. Because the challenges are out there. The left is better funded than we are almost always, but we outwork them. We have an opportunity to change America in 2014. Really do. I'm talking about the U.S. Senate. Unfortunately, we're not voting for our U.S. senators. Not for. We don't even get a vote against, which is my vote. I'm just tired of undermining.
Yeah.
I'm tired of, again, we have this elitist ability out there going on, where it doesn't matter what. In Arizona, we passed on the best resolutions this last state convention of the Republican Party. by 90% of the state committeemen. 90% at censure of John McCain.
Yep.
No amnesty under any name.
Right.
History is taught by our founding fathers. Protection of the unborn. Close the primary. If you're not a Republican, and no offense, I have good friends that are not Republican, but don't go to my primary. It's a nomination process. If you're not a Republican, you can't pick my nominee.
That's right.
Now, if you're a Democrat, I don't have a right to pick your nominee.
No, you can't.
And if you're an independent, I don't know what that is because there's no platform, but then have your own candidate or just wait till the general. But that's how we get undermined all the time when we have this ability of people who do not support our moral values to get to pick our candidates. Tired of it. We're a party that means something. We stand for something. And we're going to have to hold people accountable. May God bless you. May God continue to bless this republic. Do what you do. You're patriots. Be proud of it. Go forth. Let's take back our republic. God bless.
All right, our next speaker, I don't really have to read his bio because it's my husband. Matthew Burke, you know, it's not every husband and wife that can work from home side by side and, you know, be husband and wife and each other's office mate, basically. But that's what we do. He's the co-managing editor of TPNN.com along with me. How many husbands and wives can say we're a co-managing anything for a work relationship? And he's also one of the writers for TPNN.com. I encourage you to go look at some of his articles as well as mine. But in his former life, he was a financial advisor, and he has a lot of insight, which he brings to his articles at times, with actually the system, the financial system, and how it comes crumbling down. He also has a love for the Founding Fathers and reads